The girl who fell from the sky and lived. She is falling. 2 miles above the earth, a 17-year-old girl is strapped to a row of airplane seats, plummeting through the sky. She is alone, spinning violently toward a vast, unbroken sea of green below. The wind is a physical force, tearing at her, screaming in her ears. This isn't the start of a nightmare, this is the middle of it, and it's a true story. In 1971, this girl was the sole survivor of a plane that was ripped apart by a thunderstorm over the Amazon rainforest. She fell 10,000 feet, landed in the world's most dangerous jungle, and for her, the ordeal was just beginning. This raises an impossible question. How does anyone survive a fall like that? But the real mystery is even deeper. How did she then survive 11 days, alone and injured, in a place that kills even the most experienced explorers? The answer lies in a series of unbelievable chances, a fateful decision made minutes before the disaster, and a single piece of advice from her father that would become her only weapon against the jungle. This is the story of Juliane Koepcke, the girl who fell from the sky. To understand how she ended up falling through the sky, we have to rewind just 30 minutes. It's December 24th, 1971, Christmas Eve. The mood on LANSA Flight 508 is cheerful. 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke is sitting by the window, her mother beside her. She's just graduated high school and is flying to meet her father, a famous zoologist, at his research station deep in the Peruvian rainforest. It's a place she knows well, a place she considers a second home. The flight is short, routine. But then, things begin to change. Through the window, Juliane sees the sky darken. A massive wall of black clouds looms ahead, an immense thunderstorm. Any experienced pilot would try to fly around it, but the flight was already behind schedule. And the pilots of LANSA 508 made a decision to fly straight through. It's a choice that would seal the fate of every single person on board. The turbulence starts almost immediately. First, gentle bumps, then violent lurches.
Christmas presents, cakes, they started to fly through the cabin.
People were crying, screaming.
I remember looking at my mother. She just looked at me and said very calmly, "I don't like this."
Those were the last words she would ever hear her mother speak. A blinding flash of lightning strikes the wind. A moment of terrifying silence hangs in the air, then it's replaced by the pure, deafening roar of the wind. The plane hasn't just been damaged, it has started to disintegrate in midair.
Suddenly, the noise of the engines was gone. Everything was gone. It was just the wind. I was outside the plane. I was still strapped to my seat, but we were falling. I could see the canopy of the forest below, spinning towards me like a giant head of broccoli, and then nothing.
For the 91 other people on that flight, this was the end. But for Juliane, waking up on Christmas morning, the true test of survival had not even begun. The first thing she felt was the rain. Juliane woke up the next day. She was on the forest floor, still strapped to her seat, surrounded by a suffocating, endless wall of green. Her first thought was of her mother.
"Mama? Mama?"
But the only reply was the crushing silence of the jungle. A silence that confirmed the unthinkable. She was alone. Her body was a wreck, a broken collarbone, a deep gash on her leg. One eye was swollen completely shut, her vision a blur without her glasses. And a severe concussion left her dizzy and disoriented. By all logic, this should have been a death sentence. Lost, injured, and in shock, a normal person would have panicked. They might have screamed for help or stayed put, waiting for a rescue that would never find them in the dense canopy. But Juliane Koepcke was not a normal 17-year-old, and she had a secret weapon. Her parents were zoologists who had raised her at their research station. The jungle that was now her prison was also her childhood backyard. She knew its rules, its rhythms, and its dangers. And more importantly, she remembered one crucial piece of survival advice her father had drilled into her. It was a single sentence that now echoed in her mind.
"Find water, follow it downstream. A small stream will lead to a bigger one, and a bigger one will lead to a river. And people always live by the river.
This was her only hope. After finding a small bag of candy from the wreckage, her only source of food, she stumbled to her feet. She found a tiny spring bubbling from the ground and made a decision. She would walk. She would follow the water. But as she took her first steps, she had no idea that the jungle was about to test her, not just physically, but mentally, in the most brutal way imaginable. Her journey was a waking nightmare. The jungle floor was a treacherous maze of snakes, spiders, and stinging ants. At night, she couldn't sleep, terrified of what was moving in the darkness just beyond her sight. Day after day, she waded through knee-deep water, following the stream as it slowly grew wider. But on the fourth day, the monotonous green was broken by something horribly familiar. It was a row of seats from the plane, and in them were 3 other passengers, driven headfirst into the earth by the force of the impact. It was the first time she had seen any other victims.
I couldn't look for long. I saw a woman's feet. Her toenails were polished. I touched her with a stick. There was no response. I knew then, I really knew, that no one else survived. It was just me.
The psychological blow was immense, but her physical condition was also getting worse. The gash on her leg was festering, and a new horror was beginning in her arm. An insect bite had become infected, and it began to burn with an agonizing pain. Then she felt it. Something was moving under her skin. From her time with her father, she knew exactly what it was. She even knew how to treat it. But the method was gruesome and required a tool she didn't have: gasoline. First, she had to find people. No matter the pain, no matter the horror growing in her arm, she had to keep moving. For 10 days, she pushed on. Hope was fading. Her body was giving up. But then she heard a sound, the call of a kingfisher, a bird her mother had taught her about. A bird that only lives and hunts near rivers where people live. It was a sign, and then she saw it. Through the haze of exhaustion on the bank of the river, a small wooden boat. But after 10 days alone, haunted by pain and isolation, she had to wonder, was it real, or was the jungle finally breaking her mind? It was real. With the last of her strength, she crawled up the riverbank and found a small, empty hut used by local lumbermen. She collapsed under its roof, deciding to wait, praying it wasn't abandoned. Hours later, 3 men appeared from the forest. They thought she was a Yemenja, a mythical water spirit from local folklore, a demoness said to lure men to their doom. They were ready to flee. But Juliane, summoning what little energy she had left, spoke to them in their language.
I am Juliana, the girl from the LANSA crash.
The men's fear turned to pure astonishment. They knew about the crash. The entire country knew. The search parties had called it off days ago, declaring all 92 passengers and crew lost. Their kindness was immediate. They cleaned her wounds. And then came the moment for the maggots in her arm. Calmly, Juliane explained what needed to be done. Following the instructions of this battered 17-year-old girl, the men poured gasoline into the wound, forcing over 30 larvae to emerge. The next morning, they took her on a 7-hour canoe journey to the nearest town. From there, she was airlifted to a hospital in Pucallpa, the very city she was supposed to have landed in 11 days earlier. And there, she was finally reunited with her father. The news of her survival became a global phenomenon. She was called the Miracle Girl. But how did she really do it? How did she survive a 2-mile fall and a trial that would break even the strongest adult? It wasn't a single miracle, but an extraordinary chain of events. The physics of the fall itself were a fluke. Strapped into the row of seats, she spiraled like a sycamore seed, slowing her descent. And the impossibly thick jungle canopy cushioned her landing like a giant, chaotic airbag. But the real reason she survived what came next wasn't luck. It was knowledge. She didn't survive the Amazon in spite of her upbringing. She survived because of it. The jungle wasn't an alien monster to her. It was a brutal, unforgiving, but ultimately familiar place. She knew to follow the water. She knew which animals to fear. She knew what the maggots in her arm were. The trauma and the guilt of being the only one to live would stay with her forever. But Juliane did not let the tragedy define her. She followed in her parents' footsteps, earning a doctorate in biology. Today, she runs Panguana, her father's research station, a protected nature reserve in the heart of the very rainforest that almost took her life.
The jungle took my mother from me. For a long time, I had nightmares. But the jungle also saved me. It isn't my enemy, it's a part of me.
Her story is a breathtaking testament to human endurance, a reminder that sometimes, in our darkest moments, when we feel like we are in a free fall, the right knowledge can show us the path back home. What part of Juliane's incredible story will stick with you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story as inspiring as we did, please like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable true stories. Thank you for watching.